everybody, and welcome to episode 12 of Talking Skritt. As many of us are aware, it's Revenant week. There was a bunch of news. ArenaNet released a ton of stuff, big article, POI episode, so we're definitely going to talk about that in the show today. There's a bit of info as well on their website about PAX East, EGX Res. They released a bit of info on what they're going to be talking about there, so we're going to go over that near the end of the show. But before we get into all that, it's the one, it's the only, it's the man with the plan. What is up, Mr. James Carr?
I have a plan? When did this happen? Nobody told me this.
You're the guy that plans things.
Yeah, apparently the voice of reason, I'm told as well. Don't listen to them.
Yeah. And joining us as always, it's Mr. Roy Lindlaw. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Hope everybody else is. An interesting week. Lots of information.
Awesome. And back with us again. She's a writer for Game Breaker. She mods for MMO Champion. She's all over the place, and she's back with us this week. It's Robin Baird.
Hi! Yay!
Good stuff. And I'm filling in for John this week. He's away, so you get me, unfortunately. We have a pretty stacked show. They did a ton of info on the Revenant in the POI, and I really enjoyed the article, so, let's get into it. The first thing I wanted to kind of go over with you guys was the article, because that came out first this week, and that the brunt of the info. Basically, what we found out about the Revenant from this article is we already knew it's going to channel its powers through the mists, and they kind of went over that again. And what we've got, what they kind of launched into first in the article is the weapons that we're going to go over. Just give me your thoughts on what you thought of the weapons they introduced in the article, and did you like any of them? Did you not like any of them? What's up?
I'm kind of interested in the whole hammer as a ranged weapon deal. I'm kind of digging the like we were talking before the show, and Aaron was saying, it looks like they've just decided, let's just take all of the weapons and do nothing of what's expected of us for them. So, and then the hammer they went through at great extent to show on POI yesterday, and the skills look really fun to use, and I can't wait to mess with it. It's gonna make I really like the visceral feel that they went with it.
I like the hammer. I'm with you too on that. My concern with the hammer is I don't remember if they mentioned it in the article, but they mentioned it on POI, but it's another one where the further away, the more damage you do. Yep. And that's, that's already something that a lot of people have issues with some of the current things, because stacking is kind of the meta for a lot of things. So I'm wondering if it's going to be like Ranger Longbow, where everybody's going to be like, don't use that, which would be sad.
Well, the only reason they say don't use Ranger Longbow is because of the knockback.
No.
Yeah, and Rangers use that on cooldown, don't they, Roy?
Every time, just to annoy everybody.
But it's not just that. It's because if you're using the longbow, you're out of the stack, which means you're not getting the buffs, you're not giving the buffs to people, and that's a problem. If you're trying to, maximize, your might stacking and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, maximizing might stacking, dude.
Well, that it's only on the one skill, it's just on the two. And
I thought there was a couple of ones where they mentioned that it's further away.
It might be. They also mentioned that there are some of those cascading abilities on POI where it's as things are closer to the player. So, but specifically with the Revenant Hammer, the 2 skill is that line attack, and it deals more damage as it goes farther off.
I thought that was before. Oh well. Anyway.
There's I think a couple, maybe even 3 different line attacks on the hammer, but the auto attack is a ranged sort of boomerang attack with the hammer, which I think is silly. Hammers, spoiler alert, hammers don't work that way.
Good.
Well, neither do great swords, but the warriors can already do that.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. I think it's a nonsensical auto attack.
Did anybody else how did everybody else feel about the swinging hammers? what was that, the number 7
Oh,
skill?
the one going around you?
That's going
Look like a paladin
for Dallas, yeah.
From Diablo 3.
We're skipping around a little bit on that, but
I mean,
let's stick to the weapons first. Because we've got the mace and the axe to go with next.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we'll definitely talk more about the weapons in the POI section because we're gonna go over POI in detail. But one thing I wanted to kind of make note of is the Revenant is a heavily magical class. Like they're a heavy armor class with martial weapons, and they don't do like any sort of martial attacks like a warrior or a guardian does. It's all magic based, and it makes me feel like the whole heavy armor martial weapon concept was sort of shoehorned, and it doesn't make sense. It makes the class feel nonsensical.
we don't quite have the full background on the Revenant yet.
well,
We know there is a basis. They were all like giddy about it, talking about how everything makes sense and there's a story for it.
Yeah.
But we don't know
the
that
other
yet.
thing is that the Revenant's been around since before release. That's what they, the design people have said. We've had this in the box since prior to release, and it was coming out sometime. We were just trying to figure out how to make it happen. So it might be nonsensical based on what we currently have, but I really hope that they have a reason for its existence and explain better why things are the way they are.
Yeah,
But
I'm not really worried about that aspect.
Yeah, I can agree where looking at it, yeah, it's more of a magical class, and why put it in heavy armor? But the fact that it's existed, the reason we have the blank in the heavy armor area is because this existed prior to release.
And it wasn't
That
ready.
means there's something there that they're going to reveal at some point, explaining why.
Also, I kind of think of it as like the way they said they were trying to make it feel like really visceral with the skills is it kind of gives me the feeling that they're kind of like a tank, and they have this giant cannon, and instead of not tank as in the Holy Trinity tank,
Right.
yes, but like imagine a Panzer rolling around, and instead of artillery shells, they're firing magical hammers that cause poison and torment and bleeding. So
Yeah, I'm not worried about how the class is going to play or anything like that, just because I just think the notion, the premise of it is sort of silly, and it doesn't really fit.
I don't
anything.
think it's any weirder than a Mesmer using a greatsword. Like, I feel like the way that works, it makes sense, and the way it's implemented, it makes sense for how this is how a caster would use a greatsword. I feel like a lot of the ways that we've seen so far, it's built the same way for the Revenant.
See, I can see a caster with a sword, though I can't see a caster with a hammer. Like, that's just...
Well, that's just your personal bias, man.
She has a point. She has a point.
Yeah.
But
I learned Arlie is the dude.
They go on in this article to give us a little bit of information on the legends, and basically small overview of the legends. You can have 2 legends equipped at any time in your F1 and F2 slots for your Revenant, and I'm assuming you can switch between them. There's probably a cooldown on it. I think there's more information on that in the POI video. If you watch closely, you can kind of see how the legends work. And what the legend actually does for the legend you're channeling for your Revenant actually does is that it determines your utility skills, your heal skill, and your elite skill, which it kind of worried me actually because it removes the ability to customize that skill bar. And what did you guys think about that?
Well, sort of. Like, you're customizing the legend instead of each button. So, I mean...
I can agree, because then you literally don't get to pick 5 separate skills. You get to pick one set of 5 skills.
Yeah.
So whereas as we've seen so far, like since we'll get into the POI later, I won't go into specifics, but Jalis is very much tankier, more supportive. Malex, they've said, is about conditions, so it's about condition damage. But you're pigeonholing yourself with 5 skills instead of being able to pick and choose individual ones to help prop yourself up with the build style you've played. You're not picking traits and abilities to suit your play style. You're picking a legend and then suiting your playstyle to it is the way it feels.
And then with Malex, that makes it really interesting in that nobody wants to play conditions.
They did mention that the conditions for that will work differently than they traditionally do now. So it might be like, because right now a lot of the reason people don't want to play conditions is because of the max condition stacking. You run into it, like if you have a bunch of people, very easily you hit the cap and then you're like, oh, I'm useless.
Yep.
Especially if someone runs condition damage harder than you, because then they overstack your bleeds and your bleeds do nothing.
Or anything. Yeah, that's kind of the problem.
If they're taking it and they really are making it work different than traditional conditions do right now, that I think they might overcome that. We'll have to see how it actually is implemented. I think they're trying to overcome that limitation for people.
Tavik in chat did bring up a good point that we don't know if the Revenant doesn't have more utilities, which it's possible that they might give you a choice of utilities within that legend. But
well, the other question is, you don't have to run with do you have to run with a legend up?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
From what I could tell, it seems like it's a weapon swap. Like it's a weapon swap, but it's your F1 mechanic, it's your function mechanic. So
as far as I could tell, one is active and one is inactive at all times.
Yes.
Okay,
So you'll have one active.
Then you don't have a choice really, but you don't know what your
unless I'm envisioning it like if you want to set a different what your legends are in the F1. I'm envisioning it kind of like the ranger setup where you pick the different pets. Something similar where you click and it opens and you choose which pet. If there's a spot in there that's blank, so you could set one of your legends to not be anything, if you have that option, and then maybe you have other things that you could use instead, that could be interesting.
Well, they do have, looking at the Guild Wars article, they do have the little like skill select arrows over all of the heals, the utilities, and the elites, along with over the Revenant legends. So it looks like you'll be able to choose your legend the same way you choose your utility slot skills.
Yeah. I have a bunch of theories on the stuff we just discussed, but I want to wait till we start jumping into POI. So really quick, before we go on to POI, I just want to get your guys' opinions on the energy bar and upkeep skills concept. Quick overview on these. The energy bar is effectively a mana system that you see in a lot of other MMOs for casters. It's not new to Guild Wars 2. You see the same system with the Thief and their initiative. It's almost literally the same thing, except you have a slight difference in the UI. The upkeep skills are what makes this energy bar system different from initiative, because an upkeep skill is actually a skill you maintain through your energy, and it will degenerate your energy as you maintain it. So you really have to watch your energy with these upkeep skills. This was actually a type of skill that was seen in Guild Wars 1 that were enchantments that you would maintain, and they would put energy drain on you, because energy was the thing in Guild Wars 1. So, I mean, what do you guys think about these? Do you like them or do you hate them?
I'm a fan. I like the system. It's a bit faster than initiative, but it allows you to burst, much like initiative does, and then if you know how to pace yourself, you can put out some decent sustained skill use. And it does look like they've put some decent going, pulling a little from POI before. They do have really fairly balanced costs on some of the utilities, especially the ones that seem a little more powerful. So it fits. So you can be really powerful for 5 seconds when you just blow all of your skills, and somebody just if you go full and say you're a glass berserker build and someone just takes all of this damage and falls over, well then his 3 friends are going to look at you and say, you die now and you can't do anything about it.
Or you run around going, ah!
Exactly.
But it has pitfalls. It has a learning curve to it, and honestly, there's ways to screw up, which to me shows a good thing, because it means that in PvP content, people can take advantage of windows where you screw up.
Yeah.
And that's always something that needs to happen.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of having options to pick the wrong thing and screw yourself over. I like that, because I like having interesting choices and having to choose what you're going to do, and where you make the right and good choice, it plays off. But if you make the wrong choice, I feel like it should be like, oh, smash your face, you know.
It's also about risk reward. You know, if you want to run around and keep a particular skill up at all times, that's your choice. You know, if you can manage that and you have less energy to use over time, that's the choice you're making. You know, if it might work out better for you, it might not. That's why I like it. It gives you an option. You know, in Guild Wars, I used to run around with two particular skills up all the time in Guild Wars 1, so I was always gimped on the amount of energy I had during a fight. But those two skills were so good that, you know, the way I played, that it made sense to do that for me. You know, yeah, I couldn't drop Meteor again, but, you know, that's fine. I'll do something else. I had other options.
Yeah.
I'll tell you guys what I'm going to do. The system doesn't necessarily bother me because we're already used to it with the Thief. I'm going to do exactly what I've done on my Thief and pick every trait possible for energy upkeep, and then just spam all my skills as much as I want.
I think they're probably going to limit that. That would be a huge oversight on their part.
It works great on my Thief. Five pistol whips in a row, no break.
But the way they're setting it up, like, I think what you can pick will be mitigated some with the legends and all of that. So I think they're gonna keep. That was one thing they said they wanted it so that you couldn't negate all conditions or just negate any one aspect of it. So I think you might be able to do it some, but not all the time.
And don't forget, I mean, even if we do you have a max of 5, and it looks like the 5 regen, I'm assuming it's 5 per second, only seems to be active in combat.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you can push that up, a lot of the skills that are sustained seem to take pretty close to 5 or more. So
it was 7 was the one they showed in POI.
For the hammer one that Roy mentioned earlier, yeah, it was 7. So with no regen enhancement, you're looking at a -2 per second. So eventually you're going to run out, or you're just going to plateau and have no regen, which means we're eventually going to have a... What was that?
Or there's a trait that will save you.
Yeah.
Probably some super long cooldown that's like, refill your energy bar right now. Basically,
Probably.
You know, a renewed focus for...
Yeah, that's a point too, though, with Tavik mentioned in chat, switching your legend sets you back to 50%. So, you could drain your energy, and then you could potentially drain your energy, then switch your legend and get back to half bar. That'd be interesting.
And going back to the Thief comparison, as far as I'm aware, the utility skills for the Revenant are going to work the same way that weapon skills do with the Thief, and where they don't have recharge, they're simply managed by this energy bar. So the Revenant is kind of the reverse of the Thief in that respect, where your weapon skills will operate normally, and then your utility skills will be operated by this energy system that's then dictated by the legend that you are currently manifesting. It's definitely going to be really complicated, and it's going to have a very high learning curve, and I'm excited.
Yeah, when you look at some of the skills too, I mean, skills are more positional, skills follow you, skills are put out, way out in front. This is the engineered writ large, basically. This is going to be one of those. It's going to be I'd like to see them move this complexity over into some of the other professions.
Well, odds are that we're going to definitely see that.
Deflecting bubbles. Let's give the Guardian a wall that follows him or moves in some way relative to him.
Mm-hmm.
So that he can't just pop something and run over here.
I mean, we already know the Druid is going to get one of the cascading skills. I mean, that was when we saw the Druid fire that line of vines during the Heart of Thorns trailer.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of new tech they exhibited in both the article and the POI that it's new and it's fancy. It goes way over my head. I'm not savvy in that respect. But the stuff they're doing with these new skills looks awesome. And it's like Jim said, we're definitely going to be seeing these mechanics integrated into the other professions via specializations.
Yeah. So one thing I was going to say, one thing I'm really hoping this was they had broken the camera off the character. If they do that for the Ranger with sword and dagger, I'll go play sword and dagger now, because I don't like being pulled along and feel like I'm out of control. But when I do something and it would break from the camera, go do it, and then I would have control again, that makes more sense to me. You know, what is it, the Viper attack or whatever it is, where you do that big
roll around and then the snake comes
roll around and smack them from behind, and it shows that snake while you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Which skill are you talking about that controls your camera? I don't remember anything like that.
Yeah, in POI, they showed it. It's
on the hammer.
It's the hammer, and it's where you jump out. Well, the camera stays where you're sitting, and you go way out, and then you come back. It's like a
it's
boomerang.
the ranged AOE chill that they.
I'm kind of like the opposite. I would rather the camera went and came back rather than staying where it is.
I don't like that at all. Yeah, that's going to screw with my gameplay quite a bit. I don't think people are going to like that. I think they're going to end up having to change it, because no one's... I mean, Roy, you're minority here.
They'll probably...
Roy, you're the only one.
It's the easiest thing to do with it is just put a toggle on it. Like, they can say, these are the abilities that we've added this tech to. You can check this box if you want it or not.
Yeah.
So...
But, I mean, yeah, getting into the skills... breaking news, POI was interesting this week.
They were talking about new things.
This is literally the first episode of POI that I don't have any complaints about. It was
Oh, yes,
long.
you do. You have one big complaint.
Okay. Well, it was... I don't have any actual, like, legitimate complaints about this episode. It was long, it was informative, and it was, like, it was just packed with information. Like, as well as being informative, there was a lot of informative information. It was really good. But, and me and Robin were talking about this before the show, it seems like no matter how good this show is, like, all this information was very relevant, and I was very interested to know the information, and I still could barely make myself get through this show.
Yeah, it's the sad part. I love them, but at the same time I'm like, take some espresso shots or something. Like, I don't know. They need something, some pep.
Yeah, I was still very bored with the show, despite the fact that all the information was information I was eager to hear.
Did it bother anybody that there was a player that actually played blindfolded and didn't even die?
Yeah.
And, you know,
that was pretty hilarious.
He didn't do anything terribly. He didn't do anything terribly dangerous. He just kind of, strafed back and
he
forth.
went up against one of those huge mobs.
One of the things that I found funniest about watching this is seeing Ruby, like, trying to shush them without trying to shush them on camera when they were getting close to stuff that they weren't supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
And that was honestly the most enjoyable part for me.
True.
I feel bad for Ruby. Yeah. But so we've been talking a bit about the skills. Which skills really stood out to you guys? Like, which ones were your, like, major favorites? Like, I gotta use that skill.
I'm excited about the mist shield thing. I was telling you about that. Like, I'm really excited about the fact that it moves in turns with you. I feel like that just gives you a lot of potential for various things. It adds some complexity because you have to actually pay attention to what you're doing with it. Because if you're not, you could very easily turn away and be like, suddenly the projectiles you were trying to block aren't being blocked. So I feel like that adds a lot of interesting gameplay options. I'm super excited about that.
The only reason it lasts for as long as it does is because it's directional.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can be flanked means they can put a lot of power into it.
Yep.
Like stuff like what the Guardian has just. Oh no, it's the Mesmer has what feedback. That's the giant bubble.
Yeah.
Is it reflects or absorbs projectiles?
Reflects.
Yeah, and that thing's only up for what?
It's OP.
3-4 seconds.
You can get it. I think it's up for 4 seconds on default. But you can trait for it to go up to 6. I think.
Oh, it's a glamour, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think this mist wall. It looks like it was up for something like 8 seconds.
Yeah, it was up for a while.
And that I think the reason it's up for a while is another point that Robin and I were discussing before the show is the fact that this mist wall goes with you and stays in front of you is a handicap as much as it's an advantage, because it dictates where you have to be reflecting things. And Robin brought up a good point in that that's just good balance. It's better than having just a a wall that you can throw up and then run around and do whatever.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think it's a really good balancing tactic to do the skill like that. I'm excited to see how it works in the game.
As far as the skills go, I kind of like the energy drain with the or the swinging hammers with the energy drain.
Oh, getting into Chalice.
Chalice. I like the idea, but at the same time, it seems like it's fighting against what they're trying to do, in that they're trying to make things more positional, yet they're giving you an overarching either defensive or offensive skill that you don't have to pay attention to, other than energy drain. You know, I think it's an offensive skill, and so you just be able to put this up, walk around, do damage, and then shut it off whenever you want, turn it back on. But rather than be positional, it really isn't. You know, it's just all around you. So it seems like they're kind of almost fighting the idea they've got, that they want to give you more control over the position on the map with what's going on. Now, at the same time, you know, if you've got something that is positional, you put that up, you have basically guarded your flanks for a little while. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's kind of a up and down on that one, which I guess is all right. It's the only thing that I had questions about is like, well, if you've got all this stuff that you're showing that's distance related, close related, left for, you know, having to be positioned, why have something that's just the bubble, you know, with cool animation?
Yeah. As for me, the skill that I thought was just awesome was actually not a hammer skill. It was, I think, from the axe, Temporal Rift. Dude, that is the coolest skill animation that has ever been put into a game. Just for the animation, I want to use axe on my Revenant now, just to use that skill all the time. Temporal Rift is so cool.
Not to mention, I think it when they were going over the tooltips, I think it applies Torment too.
Yeah.
So
so you slice into the air, and it creates this red jagged scar right in midair in front of you, which is awesome. And then it actually pulls enemies into it.
Yeah, the art on it is really impressive. I like the look of it. It really looks like it's something completely out of place in, you know, the world, which is, I'm assuming that's what they're going for with the whole mist thing. But and what is it? It's like a short line in front of you.
Yeah. And it will always pop in front of you too, so you have to aim this skill, which again adds to the learning curve and stuff, which is great.
Yeah, I can't wait to try all of this out. Like, I watched a POI and I was like, oh my god, I need to do this now.
Yeah, and the hype train is left the building a while ago. And
hey man, I purchased my tickets when I saw the trailer.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just going to be one of those, you know, I'd like to see, with all the discussion and all the talks, and still want to see a release date and price.
One thing this is my first kind of theory that I have about this class that this episode of POI really sparked in me, and that's that if you look at specifically the Malex legend, if we go into the legends really quick, this legend, how this legend works is you actually put conditions on yourself, and when you have conditions on yourself, that makes you more powerful, and you can spread your conditions to other people. Now, a key thing to look at with your skills as the Malex legend that put conditions on you, they also put a new buff on you called Resistance, which makes you immune to conditions for the duration of the buff, and that's a buff that's coming in with Heart of Thorns. So you effectively put conditions on yourself, but they don't affect you in a negative way, because those skills all automatically put resistance on you. And then that in turn buffs you to do more damage and stuff like that to all your enemies. What I think this class is intended for is to shake up the PvP meta. That's totally why I think they went this way with specifically the Malex legend. And that's because right now tanky Condi builds are the meta in PvP. There's variations, of course, there'll always be variation, but what you want to play in PvP is a tanky Condi spec. And that won't work on a Malex geared Revenant, because your conditions won't affect them.
Didn't they also say that there will be like stacks of the resistance, and like other people will be able to work those off to be able to affect?
I think resistance is just a flat like stacks duration buff. and
Mhm.
it's a boon that can be ripped off. So then you start taking effects from the conditions again.
So it's good that you brought that up, Robin, because that's actually a change they're making to stability, which is already a boon in the
Oh,
game.
that's right. Okay.
Basically, players have Defiance now instead of stability. So your stability, instead of being, it'll have a flat duration, but it'll also be stacks of stability that players can remove before the duration ends.
Right.
So
And-
stability blocks 1 CC.
Yeah,
Yes.
1 stack of stability blocks 1 CC. So that's
Which
a
is
change.
fantastic. It's a great change.
Yeah. I think there'll also be like skills like the Warrior's Juggernaut, I think it is, that will, or Rampager or something like that. I never use that elite. But that gives you 26 seconds stability right now. I think to keep that as OP as it is, because it's an elite skill, they'll probably give you like 20 or 25 stacks of stability or
Mhm.
something with that
Or
skill.
it might just be a ticking like 2 or 3 stacks a second.
Yeah. I think they're definitely going to keep skills that they want powerfully stable to be powerfully stable. So I don't think we really need to worry about balancing with this change. I think it's just a better way to do stability.
And they did say that they were going through individually and making sure that everything got what they thought was the proper amount of stacks of stability.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
Yeah, he said they went through all the skills individually, which was great.
yeah.
And that's something that they can probably tweak, down the road after this launches. They find one skill where like, whoa, we really gave that too much or too little. That should be something they would be able to patch into things, I would think. So
They'll definitely balance it out
excited.
after it starts.
But yeah, I really think that people playing Malex in PvP is going to encourage people to maybe run power specs in PvP, because that's not something PvPers see a lot.
Well, if the boon is rippable to prevent you from getting, taking damage from what you've got on you, I can just see people starting to, mesmers become a lot more powerful. in
People
that.
actually start running boon removal.
Yeah.
removal, that
Yeah,
sort of
because
thing.
like that's a huge part of the Mesmer class. Like you look at their traits and their skills, there's so much boon ripping in Mesmers, and no one uses it. Like no one
Yeah,
bothers with it.
that used to be part of the game back in Guild Wars 1.
Yeah.
And while we're on boons and conditions, I mean, how about slow? I'm worried about that.
I'm gonna hate playing with slow on me so much. It's gonna make me tear my hair out. Oh my god. I do not look forward to being slowed. That is gonna be awful.
yeah.
I'm curious how they're going to handle NPC revenants.
Well, for people who didn't see the article, slow is the opposite of quickness. So
50% slowed like attack rate and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here, how are people going to respond to a NPC revenant taunting them?
Taunting.
I mean, as far as I know, NPCs don't have professions, but I mean, they'll have these new mechanics. So
the skills will be in, but
yeah,
taunt, since it's basically fear, it's just they run towards you instead of away from you.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's used as sparingly as fear, it won't be a problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that's a good point. Because fear, like the max duration you'll get on a fear in game is like what, 4 seconds or something like that.
Plus,
With
not
some-
to mention, unless you've got a bunch of necros chain fearing you, there's very few things a single person can do to just output fear, unless
Yeah.
they gear for it and trade for it. Because I know necros can get a lot
Like
of
a 10
stuff. And
second one or
there's an
something.
armor sigil. There's an armor rune for it to increase your fear duration. But honestly, that's putting all of your eggs into a very tiny basket.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you have to do a bonkers spec to do like a 10-second fear. It's really not
Yeah.
worth it.
but
About the taunt, did they mention what distance you can use that at? Is it a close range thing or?
it's
I'm assuming
Now, a 10-second taunt, that'd be something altogether different. That would definitely be worth doing a 10-second taunt.
it wouldn't though, because it drags them towards you and they can still auto attack as far as I'm aware with
Yes.
taunts
Yeah,
on.
they
they
can.
can still use their
that's
their
all well
auto
and
attack.
good, but what it comes down to is the reason you do taunt is to tank.
No,
You
not
actually tank.
not the way they're doing it right now.
It's not anything that if you could taunt things in Guild Wars 2 like you could in other MMOs where the Holy Trinity, so to speak, is active, things in Guild Wars 2 would kill you. Because things in Guild Wars 2 hit a hell of a lot harder than things in other games when they're attacking tanks.
I don't know. We'll wait and see. I'm a little leery of this
Like-
this particular.
The way I envision taunt to work is basically like, say, you know, you have a friend over here fighting this thing and it's really wailing on them and they need a second to recover before they go down. You taunt them, pull them off for a second to give them that breathing room to like get some of their health back or something. Yeah. But it's not going to necessarily stick with you.
Yeah.
Like we think of taunt in other games.
Taunt, again, like I was saying about the Malex legend, it's really for PvP. It's something to appease PvPers and give them. It's a new toy for PvPers to play with, pretty much. It's exactly like Robin said in that it'll be used in a support capacity in PvE, and they'll probably severely limit like AOE taunts. That's probably not going to be. That's going to be a very limited thing, I imagine.
If it even exists.
Yeah. It'll probably be very single target, a lot like Fear.
I mean, it's just another form of CC. That's all it really is. And it can be, and they've already stated that it can be broken like stuns and dazes. It's anything that says break, stun, daze, fear, what have you. Taunt is going to be in that category. So, you know, if you want to stack your stability, you won't be taunted either. Yeah. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be something that is just. And even going back to the Revenant, they showed the one. I think it's the 6, not the 6. It's the 7 skill for Jalis. Was like a chain that puts 3 seconds of torment and 3 seconds of taunt on someone.
The chain is so cool.
The chain it was a really, really well animated skill.
Yeah.
But that skill took 50% of their energy bar.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a 3-second taunt, but you are literally dumping half of your available resources into getting it to work. So that honestly makes me feel that they've looked at taunt and they're treating it properly and the way that it can work in Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm hoping they do. I mean, I agree. I think they've looked at it. I just don't know if they've. I want to see how the players are going to play with it.
And I'm also worried about them giving it to.
They can come up with all those compromises they want, but I can see 3 Revenants needed for a dungeon now.
I don't know. Speaking of that, you mentioned that, and I was actually watching Wooden Potatoes' video, and he was looking some of the boss, like when he was doing his Stronghold video, he was showing that the Keep Lord had the Defiance, the Unshakable icon, the white icon that says they're immune to CC, with this big long blue bar next to it that was underneath the Keep Lord's health bar. And his synopsis of it was that Defiance, as it pertains to NPC bosses, is now something that this bar gets knocked down and slowly regens.
They've changed the graphic, basically.
Yeah. They cleaned up the graphic, gave you a graphical idea of how long it was going to be up,
Yeah, so, and maybe they've also shaken up the settings, the style of it again. So we don't know, like Taunt, we don't know its value on the new Defiance bar. We don't know how the new Defiance bar scales because the Defiance bar is now much like the health bar. You don't know the numbers behind it, which, to be honest, I kind of like the idea of. But I do also agree with him that a better graphical representation of Defiance, instead of trying to see that tiny little number on the little buff icon, is a whole lot better. Because, if you're in the Zerg and you're fighting, say a world boss, or, it'd be, like Maw. You're fighting the shaman. You want to stun him, and you suddenly see the entire bar chunking down. Oh, hey, they want to stun him. They want to CC him, so let's start throwing our CC.
And again, it's gonna. I'm waiting for people to kind of get upset with people on that too, because then it'll be time. As soon as that drops down to 0, no matter what everybody else's intention, one ranger hits their knockback on their longbow. Keep it in mind, it's going to become nasty out there.
So by that you mean you'll hit the knockback and everybody's going to turn at you and be like, Roy!
I do find it funny that they mentioned that specifically on POI, but sorry.
It's everything I can say. This is going to be grief, but I like the idea that they've actually made it so you can understand and see it a lot easier. That's in the nutshell the good thing.
You saying it might be a bit of a jungle out there, Roy?
Eventually.
No, but seriously though, unless the Revenant, it all depends on how good the Revenant's DPS is. If they can't stack 40k crits, no one's gonna want them for dungeons. End of story.
Yeah, that's true too.
So, and I want to move on to traits because I have another theory regarding the traits that has a lot to do with the profession overall. But first, I want to tell you guys about a little bit about Gamebreaker Nation. This is a Gamebreaker Nation sponsored podcast. All of us on the show are members of Gamebreaker Nation. Gamebreaker Nation is a cross-gaming community that features games all over the MMO sphere, like Elder Scrolls Online, Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous. We even play a bit of League of Legends from time to time, even though that's not an MMO. You know, we play games literally all over the place. You know, sometimes we jump into, whatever little game strikes our fancy. We have
Guild Wars One nights.
Exactly. We have Guild Wars 1 nights sometimes, and those are a lot of fun.
Trove.
Trove. We played Trove a few times. John, the host that's gone today, streams a bit of Trove from time to time. Just
Dragon's
a ton
Prophet.
All right, stop listing games.
Dragon's Prophet. Guys, quick side note, Dragon's Prophet is nothing short of legendary. But back to Gamebreaker Nation. We do have a TeamSpeak 3 server that we really, if you want to join Gamebreaker Nation and come to talk to us personally about Guild Wars 2 or any of the other people in the other guilds about their game that they play, definitely join Gamebreaker Nation, come in TeamSpeak. TeamSpeak is where the magic happens, guys. You like listening to the podcast? Come in TeamSpeak. It's a podcast all the time in TeamSpeak. Definitely. That's all we want. We want you to join Gamebreaker Nation. We want you to come in TeamSpeak. That is what I want. Please go to GamebreakerNation.com, sign up, apply to the guild you want to join, and we will see you in the game.
Yay.
Woo! All right. So traits, guys. How about the traits? Were they pretty?
Three traits.
What did you guys think about them? Okay. I want to say this before I hear it. I bet someone's already come up with it, but I want to say this before I hear someone else say it. So each profession in the game currently has 5 trait lines, right? And we have seen 3. Now, the important thing to note from these trait lines is that they've mentioned that each of these 3 trait lines is tied to a legend, which if we do a bit of inferring here, that would mean we're probably going to get 5 legends to play with, right?
I mean, you can work within each trait line to have it apply to more than one legend. Like, if a couple of the legends, you know how each trait line increases 2 scores, you could easily have a trait line also have the specific traits to affect multiple legends. That's a possibility. But I don't think we're getting like 10 right away. I think 5 is probably good starting, and there might be more later.
Okay, here's another reason why I think 5, because if you look at the number of utility skills each profession has, it's, not that much. If we have 5 legends, that'll give us access to, you get 3 utility skills, an elite, and a heal. That's 5. So 5 legends would give us access to 25 utility skills. I don't really see us getting any more than that. Furthermore, that would give us access to 5 elite skills. Now, currently, professions in the game only get 3 elite skills. And if we do a little more inferring, that means that each profession should be getting 2 new elite skills.
Maybe from the specializations.
Exactly. You heard it here first.
That would only account for 1, though. So
No,
there would be at least 1 more.
You could get 2 elite with the specializations. There's no reason they couldn't do that.
Oh, you get a choice of 2 elites for your specialization? I thought it was just 1 elite, 1 heal, and some utility skills.
They haven't specialized.
We can
I'm just saying
speculate
it's
and say, yep.
possible.
Good point.
But you heard it here first. There will be 5 legends, and each profession will get 2 new elite skills. Heard it here first.
What I mean to that. Your map completion gold star is on the line, Aaron.
Yep. Okay, but as far as the traits go, I mean, they sync up with legends. They showed us 3 trait lines that are done. They're probably subject to a heavy revamp. He moused over some of them, kind of teasing people. I wouldn't, people probably screen capped it and are going crazy over it. I haven't looked at any of the screen caps personally, just because everything there is so subject to change. I don't even think it's relevant right now. But the trait lines are corruption, retribution, and invocation. We know that corruption is tied to Malex, and retribution is tied to Jalis. Invocation is kind of in the dark right now. Might it be tied to the glint one we see in the trailer? Who knows? But what did you guys think about the traits overall?
Looks interesting. I don't think we've seen enough to really say too much about them, like how interesting they're looking. But like with everything else, it looks interesting. I want to see the rest.
Yeah,
of course.
I would stability on dodge roll. I mean, come on. Like that's. I know they changed like with the new mechanics on stability. That won't be as horrendously broken as it sounds right now. So that's 1 CC you don't take after your dodge roll, but you, depending on almost every profession that I'm aware of, has some way through traits to increase endurance regen. So you could be a dodging machine and just be like, oh, hey, I'm eating all of your CC. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
So Ixter in chat has just said that they did specify what invocation is for, and he says that it's about general Revenant mechanics in general and not a legend. So revising the theory, really quick here, four legends, 20 new elite skills, or
I'm
not
still
elite
gonna
skills,
go 8.
20 new utility skills, and each profession gets 1 new elite skill. Okay, theory revised, you heard it here first still.
I'm still going 8 on that. Like 10 sounded too much and 5 was okay, but I think 4 is just way not enough, especially because you always have 2 equipped. So
But
I'm gonna say
you
8.
have to judge it on number of utility skills we get access to, though. That's 20 utility skills.
So, like, they can add more utility skills to the other.
I'm expecting at least a few more skills for everybody else. So
I don't know, 4 or 5 legends. That's what I'm going with, 4 or 5.
All right.
They
we need
add
to
so
write
much.
this down.
They add so much utility that I just don't see them going over 5. It's too much.
Okay.
But I mean, so traits aside, how about those new skins? The video.
So like literally everybody, this is what Aaron lives for. Is the shiny stuff. This is literally it. Like
Yeah,
because are you still looking for amber?
I am.
Yeah.
The amber stuff is really awesome.
Well, like,
No, I got the two fossils I want. I need to make the weapons still though.
well, it was just amusing because I was talking with the day I got my first piece of amber. I was talking with Aaron and I'm like, yeah, I haven't really been paying attention to chests. It's like I've been opening chests since I logged in every day for like the past 2 days, like every hour. And I'm like, I open a chest, like, oh hey, piece of amber.
It's candy.
Yeah, piece of candy.
I sell that stuff on the trading post. You get like 2 gold a stack. So
Well, there's the hammer on the stream. That's
That-
awesome.
yeah,
That
Looks
hammer
good.
looks good.
Dude,
Like,
I liked all the skins. I want them.
They looked like just an entire line of like new, what was it, Mist Reaver was what the tooltip said.
Yeah, I think so.
It was,
I
it
think
was
yeah,
Mist Reaver.
I think they said what the weapon set was called. Mist Reaver. It sounds right.
Yeah, because I remember when they moused over the hammer when they were, or the mace when they were equipping it. I'm like, that's not the hero's Mistforged mace. Because that's the icon.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I see the tooltip. I'm like, Mist Reaver mace. I like that. Like, and it looks cool. So again, it's another one of those situations where I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't have anybody that uses a hammer right now. My engineer might. I don't know. But
My guardian does.
I've got so many hammers on my
Ermagerd,
guardian, it's pathetic.
Guys, if this expansion makes me like Hammer in any capacity, I'm totally getting Mjolnir. I'm getting Mjolnir if I end up liking Hammer. That is going to happen.
then Deo can yell at you for something else.
Exactly. But I really liked the skins they showed off. I think they look badass. What I'm hoping these are going to be a part of is I want a set of skins per map. Like, I want that to be something we can work towards in each individual map. Like, you have the Silver Waste is a really good example of map-based rewards. Dry Top, not so much. Silver Waste, much better. But and they have that rewards merchant for the Bandit Crest. I hope they do a similar thing in each of the new maps in Hot, and I hope that we can get a weapon skin set for each one. I'm excited.
I don't know. They might go like both because technically Dry Top would be their their weapon skin, and then Silver Waste would be your armor skin.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
But
What
still,
if we
I
get
mean,
a weapon and armor set for each map?
map-based rewards like that, I can dig it. Like that's perfect because that
But
means
Aaron, if they did
it's
that,
to be there.
you'd have to leave Silver Waste sometime.
I want to.
No, you don't.
You know,
If they come up with something that's as good as Silver Waste and it's new.
You mean as good as chest farming?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I do Vine Wraths too. I do a lot of Vine Wraths. But yeah,
The Vine
really
Wrath happens regardless of what happens.
I really hope these maps operate similarly to Silver Waste, and I hope these awesome weapon skins are tied into the map push and pull kind of meta. I really love that idea.
That night, I hope that because I was running around in Ore the other day on my my Ranger, and I showed up at the defense event for Melandru, and there's random chatter going on in map chat, and I see always fail defense events, and I'm like, why? So I'm talking, and we're just going back and forth. It was really like because I look at events and I'm like, I don't care like about me min-maxing my rewards. I see an event, I'm going to complete the event to the best of my abilities, win or lose. I don't think that you should let an event fail purposefully ever.
That's the worst.
Yeah, it feels bad to me. But and they're like doing the event chain and waiting for the event chain to happen again is worth more. Plus, you get the world boss chest out of it than the defense event is. And I know that they said and you also get the trait because people are going into Ore and doing the temples for the traits for the new Grandmaster traits. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's shockingly terrible design.
Yep.
And I'm just like, I'm really happy they're kind of going around this on the Silver Waste because you are like Silver Waste, if you keep an individual fort held for a decent period of time, it slowly increases the chance for one of the legendaries to spawn. So if they like that, this is what you're going to get credit for. Like they showed the example of with the night and day in the canopy, where you're working with the Pale Reavers to reinforce the strongholds. If you keep them, you have to fight tougher and tougher stuff, presumably. And then the tougher and tougher stuff has better rewards to it. So as long as they can keep people interested in sticking to a place and defending it instead of it purposefully failing stuff.
That would be awesome.
Like that's everything
Yeah,
that I would want out of it.
I definitely hate the purposefully failing thing that people do. That annoys the hell out of me. Like, so when we do chest farm maps and Silver Waste, I'm very heavy into this culture.
It's a culture now?
It's a culture at this point.
Okay.
We do pass by events, but when we, and it makes me sad, but the chests, they called me. If I see an event I can do by myself when I'm chest farming, I leave the chest farm and go do the event, like one of those kill the Mordrim threat things or clear out the fort. I definitely do those because I can do those by myself, and then I just re-catch up with the train because the
and you get Bandit Crest to buy more keys.
And you get shovels from the events, which is the train can't go without shovels, guys. So definitely do events, people. Do them.
Don't fail them.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember when we were getting, we had just finished, I think, guild events, and we were waiting for something, and we had just found Tisa up in Frostgorge, and we were near, what's the name of that point that starts that kickoff event in the south?
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but
Coiled Watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were
Coil.
Yeah, we were in Coiled Watch, and people were yelling, like we were trying to finish the event, and people were yelling at us in map chat, and I'm like, guys, we need to finish this event chain right now.
Yep.
So
We came to the rescue.
it was a matter of principle at that point.
If you want to come to the rescue, join Gamebreaker Nation.
Ooh.
But
Segues.
we already did the plug. That would have been a great segue, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I gotta tell John. But one last thing that they kind of, I don't think it was an accident, or it might have been an accident, but I don't think it was a big deal. We got to see a bit of updraft action with the Game Lever in POI. I know it's not that big a news, but I think we all knew that this was going to be a thing.
Well, they
But-
had mentioned that there's like air
did.
currents that you can ride and stuff.
I mean, I thought it looked pretty neat. What did you guys think of it? I liked it.
I'm excited still. Yay!
Forward to
I
it.
didn't. Sadly, I didn't get that far, and I hadn't had a chance to watch POI until like just now, just today, shortly before the stream. But I did get to see at least a little bit of the hang glider when they started showing off the Revenant skills, and honestly, I'm kind of excited for it. Like, I'm really interested in seeing this stuff happen, because any new way to traverse a map, I'm perfectly happy with.
Mm-hmm.
If it makes things faster, I like that, because I've been over each map, a plethora of times. I get sick of running, but at the same time, it worries me because I don't want people skipping stuff. It's the
Well, you got to figure. I mean, the map is going to be designed with all of this in mind. So
yeah, and that's why I'm not that worried. That's why I kind of trust them.
Heck,
we already kind of touched on this in one of the other shows. Was a lot of these skills don't transfer to older maps. They're just
Oh yeah. I'm just talking about the new maps.
Yeah, but and the new maps, no, it's all going to be there. It's all planned for. It's all designed in there. So you can't. To me, I'm not worried about that. My concern was always on the older maps. Was the jumping puzzles there, the things that you need, you don't need. As long as they limit it that way, I don't think we're going to see a real problem with people skipping over content or anything like that.
I also hope that they aren't something that just frustrates the hell out of me, like jumping puzzles do.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert. I hate jumping puzzles. But I really hope that I'll enjoy the hang glider and not want to tear my hair out every time I open it.
I'm honestly hoping it's something similar to like playing sandbox games, like think Ultimate Spider-Man or Prototype or anything else like that. I just eventually just ended up enjoying running around in the world. I didn't really care to do any of the like stories or missions or anything that were going on. I just liked running around.
Saints Row 4. That is all
I
I
have
to
that.
say.
I have yet to play it.
Oh, dude,
So
Saints Row 4. It's
look,
so
my-
bonkers.
my-
It'll
my
blow your
Steam
mind.
list- my Steam list is this. My time is this. So,
Yes. But yeah, I just don't want to be frustrated with it. I want it to be fun.
agreed. Yeah, totally.
So, something else that came up this week that didn't really get a lot of attention because it's not that big of a deal, but they did a short little blog post kind of detailing a little bit more information about PAX East and EGX Rezzed. And I think we've got someone on the show today who's going to PAX East. Am I wrong?
Yay! No, you're not wrong. I'm so excited.
That depends on if the snow melts by then.
They've actually cleared out a lot of it from Boston itself. Like, I was walking around yesterday, I was like, wow, where did all the snow go? It's amazing.
But so there's going to be a fan meet and greet with ANET. You gonna go?
I'm planning on it. They haven't announced when it is exactly or where they're doing it yet, but I would really like to go.
You required to do the show after PAX East. You required to be on here.
Okay.
And you got to name drop. When you meet those devs, you got to name drop us.
Okay.
And we must continue to ask Colin Johansson. Cantha?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, make sure-
If you meet him, you must. But it's kind of weird actually. They're not saving the big info for PAX East. They're actually saving kind of a bigger announcement for EGX Rezzed.
Yeah.
It says they're going to do a panel and they're going to go over core features of Heart of Thorns, unspecified. We don't know what those will be.
Mhm.
And then the main thing that I'm interested in is they're going to go over, quote, the future of World versus World, and they're going to do an in-depth map tour of the new Desert Borderlands map. And they referred to it in the article as Desert Borderlands map. I mean, what do you think they mean by the future of Dub v Dub?
I think they're just continuing some of what they had already started of trying to change up and address some of the issues that we have in World versus World right now. Like they said, not keeping things right now in World versus World is not that important. It's not something that you really want to do. And with the new map, they said that they're specifically designing it so you'll want to hold on to those things. And I think they're probably going to address some of the larger concerns in the other maps to really make the interplay matter more. That's my
As far as I can tell, everything they've been going with has been to make World versus World actually seem more like real world large scale combat.
Mhm.
So, like the defenses, you actually need to keep something to gain a benefit from it, and the offense, like I guess they're trying to get rid of the whole derisive PV door description of World versus World. Like, I understand that Siege is PV door, but it needs to be a subset of it, not, you know, what people use to describe World versus World.
Yeah.
So a lot of something that people constantly complain about in World v World is that there's not enough things for small groups to do. And this, I'm conflicted about this argument because running around in small groups is fun, but at the same time, the point of having a map where, you know, 150 players can face off with 150 players is not small group content. It's large scale. It's large scale army battles. That's the point. If you don't like that, you probably shouldn't be playing WW. But at the same time, if they can figure out a way to integrate, you know, small group stuff well and to where it's not pointless, I'd be really excited about that.
Yeah, it'd be really nice if you could do small group stuff that really helps reinforce what the bigger group is doing and helping them do a better job of what they're doing to
Because
have
having
that matter more.
small skirmish parties are part of warfare, like scouting parties, stuff like that. That's the thing.
Oh yeah.
So
My thing is, I've always is a small group of 5 people. You can, you know, do stuff like the Centaur camp. You can, you know, you can take control of that, and you can have the Centaurs helping your side. The Troll one, that's another, you know, that's another thing that small groups can do. Now the problem is getting the credit for that as a small group compared to the overarching number of points, and how rewarding having that stuff happen is also a matter. You know, how helpful it is another factor of the reward. Nobody,
not to mention
they don't really make a difference.
Yeah, you mentioned the mercenary camps, and I've heard people. I've been in part of Zergs that just kind of ignore them because they don't matter.
That's the problem. Is the balance for the small groups. There's things for small groups to do, but the contribution of the small groups is minuscule compared to the overarching take the keep, take the, you know, take this, take that. So, you know, even small groups can take over camps. You know, we've done 4 or 5 people and flipped camps all night. That's more of a help than trying to do some of the other content. So, you know, that's where they really have to focus on, is getting the reward and the contribution of smaller groups to be something more meaningful.
Yeah, I really think the mechanics they need to focus on to make World v World gameplay more diverse is squad integration. Better squad interface for commanders. That needs to happen. And what better time to make it happen than with the release of the new map?
Yep.
I really think what they could do is, I've thought about this for a little while. I thought it was kind of a silly idea at first, but it seems more and more viable, is make scouting, incentivize scouting basically. Put scouting in as an actual rewarded mechanic. So you'd go somewhere deep behind enemy lines and like you scouted this or something like that. I have no idea how that would work. I'm not a game designer. I'm just saying that would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you could run 2 or 3 thieves out there and just have them somehow report back where the Zerg is and get credit for that, that's important in the game.
You say that, Aaron, and now I'm already thinking about how they could determine what enemy lines are.
Sure, Dill in chat points out that small groups can defend against larger groups. That's true. You have to be excessively well prepared, though. You have to be.
I think he was saying that, tacking on to what he said before, where if defending is made important, you would have small groups who would want to do that. So then you would be prepared and be ready to do that. Like, you could organize it better.
If you have your Zerg put up 5 arrow carts in that fortress and then leave a group of 5 behind to defend it, that would work really well.
Yeah.
And if they'd incentivize defense like I think they said they're going to do that in this new map. I not only hope they do it in this new map, I hope they integrate that defense incentive into the existing maps, because that would be kind of silly to only have it in one map. Then people would only defend on that map.
I think it won't work exactly the same, but I'm hoping that they will do something.
It'll be more robust in the new map.
Yeah. Like, in the new map, keeping things gives you buffs in other areas, is what he was saying, or different things that you can do that you wouldn't have been able to do before. I don't see them doing that with the old maps, but, like, I
think what they said,
something else.
They said specifically the Earth Temple for the new Borderlands map. If you hold it, that there are parts of the ground and there are shrines around it that if you hold them, there are bits of the ground that will rise up and become impassable. So it defends itself as long as you keep the different sections. So that would help, because that helps you defend what is yours, or what you're trying to keep anyway. I don't know, like there are points in time where I'm running around, and I guess this comes back to my hatred of thieves and nigh perma-stealthing. Because what was it, Roy? It was you, me. It was you, me, John, and my wife. We were all running around, and there was one thief, and he was just busting through, spiking one of us down, and then we'd get someone up, and he'd pop back up at 75% health.
Yep, thieves are a problem.
Honestly, one of the biggest problems I think is stealth spiking. Like stealth stomping is literally something that I think that should not exist. I'm okay with stability, especially with the change coming in, but stealth stomping, I don't think that should be a thing, period.
I am aggravated by stealth stomping as well, but I don't PvP, and I'm sure avid PvPers have 10 billion reasons why stealth stomping does need to be a thing, so I'm not even going to go there. But
all of those reasons pretty much add up to it makes me awesome and OP, so I need to be able to do it.
It enables me to kill you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like if it's a thing, you need to be able to interrupt it or do something. There needs to be some way to counter it.
I don't mind. Like I was playing a match yesterday during my lunch break at work, and I play my ranger almost exclusively in SPVP. I only play on ranked matches because I don't want to get into the hassle of ranked, because I played League and I don't even touch ranked there because I don't want to get people yelling at me, because that's not why I play video games. But and it was just me and this Mesmer going back and forth, and we were just I was guarding one of the points, and he manages to down me, and he's going to spike me, and then he uses the one shatter that gives distortion, I think it is, that lets you evade attacks. Yeah, and I wasn't even mad about that because he set it up. If you can set it up, I wasn't even mad. I was not even mad, but he set it up. He made sure that he didn't, because I have like this crazy amount of bleed focus on my ranger right now, and he was probably at like 13 or 14 stacks of bleed, and I think it was ticking at like 1200 every bleed tick. So I was just happy that I was able to fight him. It was probably a 1.5-minute long fight just standing there, but he set it up and he saved the distortion, because I know it has a really long cooldown. So he saved it so that he could spike me the next time he downed me.
Wow. Yeah.
That's preparation, and I'm okay with that.
That's above my level. Last night, actually, I was in PvP. Yes, me. I played like 7 or 8 matches in pursuit of 7...
Okay, wait. What are they paying you guys to do this now?
What?
No, I played...
rewards or something in-game that got you guys into PvP.
I played 8 matches of PvP last night in pursuit of 7 dungeon tokens.
There you go. Okay,
7.
There had to be something. I knew it wasn't because he was having fun doing it.
Yep, I had done all my AC paths for the day. I was at 493 out of 500 tokens, and I just was like, I want him tonight, so I jumped into PvP. It wasn't that bad. It was okay.
Whoa.
We won like 6 out of 8 of our matches.
Who are you, and what have you done with Aaron?
Yeah, really.
All right.
And to be honest, I found that I've enjoyed PvP in other games, and I'm looking forward to coming back and doing some in Guild Wars 2. So,
I mean, for me, it was about the same thing. As I looked at the reward tracks, and I'm like, this is a lot easier for me to do. Like, I like doing the dungeon paths, I like doing explorable paths, but it's a lot easier for me to go and do like an unranked match solo, and just get the weapon skins and the armor skins and the tokens and just
Oh,
go from there.
the rewards are great for PvP now.
And there you go.
They are. But so if you guys, going back to Jim's little dub anecdote, if you guys needed any more incentive to join Gamebreaker Nation, one thing you need to hear in your life is Roy B in World v World.
Oh God.
You guys have to experience the magic that is Roy in World v World. It's amazing. He gets so angry. It's so adorable.
Mostly at thieves. Mostly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I'm the same way in all PvP. That's why I don't play PvP, is because I get into it to the point where I'm into it, and then it's just like, look, you sorry son of a. Why did you? And how could
Good
you?
at it.
And you
Good
shouldn't have.
catch.
And I'm coming, and you're gonna see, and then it's just on.
That was me last night too, to be fair. But we're getting a little short on time, so we're gonna have to end. But Jim, where can you be found on the interwebs?
I can be found at Malthanis MMO on Twitter, and I can also be found here at Gamebreaker Nation. So, yay.
Roy, how about you? Where can you be found?
Catch me on Twitter at Roby62, and catch me at GBN in either Guild Wars 2 or in Elite Dangerous. That's pretty much where I've been lately.
Awesome, awesome. And Robin, how about you? Where can you be found?
At Arlie82 for the Twitter, on GameBreaker.tv for random articles about various things, and also MMOArlie.com is my blog. I don't write on there as much as I should, but I write about MMOs here and there, so you can check that out.
Don't worry, I don't write enough on my blog either.
Thankfully,
I kinda-
wanted to keep writing.
Yeah, I kind of set it aside for Guild Mag. I write at Guild Mag now, so you can go over there and find me. I write a few articles every now and then about Guild Wars 2. I'm also on Gamebreaker Nation, so go over, join Gamebreaker Nation, get in TeamSpeak. You can talk to us about all the stuff we talked about on the show today, and we will see you in the game.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.